Hey everybody, it's Carrie Hoffmeister here with Carrie on Abundant TV. So about a month ago, I had two of the members from Disciple on, and now today we have the opportunity to have Joey West on from Disciple. So welcome, Joey. Joey, thanks for being on today.
Thanks, Carrie. It's good to be here. No
Yeah,
problem.
Joey felt the need that he needed to redeem himself from some of the questions that the boys called him out on. So we're going to give him that opportunity.
Yeah.
You were a favorite with the
Uh,
questions.
yeah, unfortunately, we'll I'll find some way to get them back. They'll find their bedding of the bus back out on the street somewhere. Who knows? Just kidding.
Oh, it was good. They were great. Um, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with what we call carry on the questions. You did watch the interview, so you're kind of familiar with what we do. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Do animal adoption commercials really make you cry?
Yeah. I love animals.
I do too.
I mean, it's not like every animal adoption thing, but like when they got that one
That
with
Sarah,
Sheryl
uh,
Crow singing on. Was it
yes,
Sheryl Crow? Yeah, with like in the arms of the angel or whatever. I'm like, I can't
um,
handle this.
Sarah McLachlan.
Sarah McLachlan, yeah, who knows?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's yeah. I can't even watch that one.
dude, and movies about like, if there's a movie
Yeah,
about a dog, I'm not watching it because
yeah.
I know where it's going, and I don't wanna like, why do I wanna depress myself? So,
I'm the same way. I do not like to
yeah.
watch sad animal movies. Have you ever fully edited your pictures before you put them on social media?
Absolutely, and here's the explanation to that. I was a photography major in college, and so it was like, actually, it wasn't my major, it was my minor because I, majored in television, radio production, and I have a very creative brain, and I like to make things just, like, look good, and editing is like, it's kind of like relaxation for me.
Mhm.
So, it's not that I'm, like, trying to so over edit, like, I'm not, like, obsessing over, like, "Oh, does this make my muscles look good or make my eyes look good?" It's like, I just want to aesthetically look at a picture and be like, "Oh, that's nice," and I want other people to look at a picture and be like, "Oh, wow, this makes my eyes happy." So, that's the reason I edit, is because, like, I spent 4 years in college doing it, and I'm not using the degree, so I might as well use it for Instagram to get fake likes and no money off of it. So,
There you go.
you know?
But really, who doesn't edit their photos these days, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the phones are gonna get to where they just edit them automatically for
Themselves.
us anyways, yeah, so
Do you really spend most of the day scrolling on your phone?
I do. I doom scroll really bad. The guys play a lot of video games, and I don't like video games. I have a video game system, and I could tell you the last time I turned it on and actually played a video game was like 6 or 7 months ago. And so they're all like, playing Rocket League or hockey and stuff, and I like watching it, but after like a game or two, I'm like, okay, I'm bored. And on tour, like, people think that it's like glamorous and there's all this stuff to do, and there's really not. So
Yeah.
I get lost in doom scrolling, and we'll sit down to watch a movie, and I actually am just not a movie person either. I don't really like, I like being outside. Always want to be outside. And so during a movie, if the first 30 minutes does not grip me, I'm out. Like, I will be sitting, I'm like, I will hang out with you guys and support you in watching your movie, but I'm gonna, like, see what ads Instagram wants to sell me today, so, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, pizza or pasta?
Pasta,
Hamburgers or hot dogs?
hamburgers,
Coffee or tea?
coffee.
Yes. Besides your own music, who is your favorite artist or song that is on repeat on your phone right now?
Ooh, I gotta look at my Spotify, I'm sorry. Let's see, what have I been listening to? My all-time favorite band is POD, so I go back to
Okay.
a lot of POD, but here recently, I've been listening to Bring Me the Horizon. They just released a new single. NF's new record. I really like NF.
Who is your favorite person that has ever interviewed you?
Favorite person that's ever interviewed me? Uh, you?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
It wasn't very confident, but that's okay. We'll take it.
I was like scrolling through. I'm like, I don't even remember anyone who's interviewed me.
That's funny. I got to see you guys in Winter Jam for the first time. I didn't know who you guys were or heard of you, but I became a fan, especially after getting to talk to the other guys. And I've interacted with you a little bit on Instagram. I tend to think that if I talk to somebody one time, I'm friends with them. So sorry, we're
Oh
friends.
no,
That's
I'm kind of the same way.
yeah. I'm like, oh, we're friends now. Yeah, we follow each other on Instagram.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you being on today. And so, like I said before, you had posted something on Instagram, which I'll let you kind of go through. But I kind of just wanted you to come on and share what you are going through, what your journey has been, and how you're doing now.
Yeah. Um. Ooh, this could get deep.
Yeah, that's okay. We like deep on the show.
Oh, yeah. It's mental health awareness month, which is kind of fitting for talking about this stuff. But I think I had my like first bout of anxiety when I was in high school. I was in 10th grade, and before that, like my whole childhood, man, I was just like I did not care what anybody thought. Like I was just myself. I was goofy. I was fun loving. I never had any enemies. I was always that kid. I wasn't like the popular kid in school, but I was the kid that was everybody's friend, if that makes sense. Like I just I had no enemies. I had no interest in like being a tough guy or like, trying to, start crap with anybody else. Is like my goal is to be friends with everyone, white, black, Asian, Native American, whatever. Like I wanted to just be friends with everybody. And, that's what I did all the way through school. And, I was just unapologetically myself. And in 10th grade, I just had this like thing hit me out of nowhere while I was at school. And it was like this insane episode of vertigo that made me collapse in the hallway while I was walking to a class. And from that point on, every day of my school career from then on out was spent fearing that the minute I left my house that I was going to die at school, or that this was the last time I was going to say bye to my mom or dad.
Mm,
And so I was in terror every single day. And, somehow I made it through school. Like I still did well, like with grades and all that, still managed to have somewhat of a life. And a lot of that stemmed from I'm unapologetically or unashamed of talking about it, because sometimes I feel like it helps people to know that other people have gone through similar things. But
mhm,
I was born with a bedwetting issue, and that lasted all the way until I graduated high school. And
mhm,
so my whole school career, I was trying to hide something, and I couldn't like go spend the night at friends' houses without parents knowing like what was going on with me. And so I always felt like I was different, but not in a good way. I always felt like I was a problem or I was an inconvenience. And so like 10th grade, when that hit me, I was like, I just want to die. Like I'm scared of dying, but I think death would actually be a little bit better than this, because I feel like I'm an embarrassment to my family. I feel like I'm an inconvenience. I'm a problem. And, as I got through high school, and my parents were very supportive, through all that. They were by my side, helped me through it. When I got to college, a lot of that kind of calmed down. I was able to kind of like rediscover myself and, kind of just calm down off the anxiety. I remember like I kind of like, I built my confidence back in myself. Like that issue had subsided, which helped immensely mentally. I was like, okay, like I don't, what, what the heck was that for 17 years? Like, why did that have to go on for so long? About 2016 or 2017, I hit the lowest point I think I've ever hit in my life as far as like depression and anxiety goes. And I don't even really know like what led fully to it. I know there were some things that bad decisions that I had made, shame that I had from my past that were contributing to it. But there was also other factors that were, just kind of out of my control. Um, and so I hit this just like absolute rock bottom. I got super unhealthy. I let my physical health go. And this is all while I was in disciple too. Like I had gotten my dream job and I thought, oh, okay, like this is awesome. This is really cool and it can only be up from here, right? And it just got harder. And I remember in 2017, I reached, it was either 2017 or early 2018. I reached a point where I was consciously just driving around without my seatbelt on and asking God to let somebody cross the center line and
Mm.
hit me head on and just take me out because I was so like I was drowning in shame for choices that I had made. I was drowning in shame for people that I had hurt. I was drowning in shame from a really bad church experience. I'd been emotionally and verbally abused by spiritual authorities that I thought had the best interests at heart for me.
Mm.
But it turned out to be like a really bad situation for me that kind of spun my world upside down. And I felt I was dealing with a lot of betrayal. Um, and when I look back at that time, I don't fully know what got me through, other than God, his love, his grace for me, and my family being around me, and my friends. And when I was able to finally relax off that, I was like, you know what? Something's got to change. I've got to go to the doctor. I've got to make sure like my physical health is in order first
Mm.
and then go from there. And so I went to my doctor and there was some stuff that was actually scary. Some stuff that was out of whack, but it was because my body was sending so many signals to different parts and like just flipping out all these numbers like it was so bad, and so that kind of made it a little bit worse. I started like having all this like crazy health anxiety. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. I was WebMDing, googling stuff, which
Oh
is
no.
the worst thing to do.
Worst thing you can do.
Never Google symptoms, just let your doctor figure it out. um and so we started getting that stuff fixed. And then he was like, hey, he's like, there's this new blood test that we can run. He's like, because I want to see if some of this stuff is out of your control. And I was like, okay. I was like, do tell, like, what are we talking about? And he's like, it's a MTHFR blood test. He's like, and basically what it does is it can detect mutations in humans' DNA. He's like, humans can have up to 3 mutations in their DNA. Most people have two, and then after doing that test, I only had one in mine. Um, and that particular mutation led or leads to the chemical in my brain called L-methylfolate, which is the chemical that produces neurotransmitters that go from your head to your gut and control stress, anxiety, and mood and all that. And so they basically figured out like, oh, your brain's just not producing this chemical
Mm.
and it needs some help with basically a super B vitamin. And so I went on this like prescription strength vitamin and it completely 180 like turned me around. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like at about 6 months into taking it, I was like, I feel great. Like
Wow.
I'm happy, like I'm working out, I'm like confident, and I started losing weight. I ended up dropping from like 220 pounds to 185. So I lost like 35 pounds just from working out. Started really taking care of myself, and I was just like doing very, very good. 2020, I had a pretty traumatic experience happen that and I won't go into all the details, but basically, and this goes to my love for animals. I had rescued a kitten off the side of the road with my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, and brought her home. And I was gonna try to rehome her, but then I fell in love with her, and I was like, "Oh, you can stay," and she became my buddy. And 2 weeks after rescuing her, she died in a tragic accident
Wow.
that I witnessed, and it kind of like it just messed me up really bad. And I feel like that kind of started this like slow spiral,
Mhm.
that's led me to today. There's been other things, happen and different challenges and whatnot. But mostly, I mean, it's been good. Since then we hit Winter Jam this year.
Mm.
And Winter Jam, for anybody out there who may not know what this tour is, it's a Christian arena tour.
Mhm.
Uh, it was 40 dates, got cut down to 39 because of a blizzard in Iowa, but 39 dates in a short span of time, which is a lot. I mean, it was way more exhausting than I thought it would be. Um, and we got on Winter Jam, and I've dreamt of being on Winter Jam since I was a kid, and I mean, it was amazing. Like, I have nothing bad to say about Winter Jam at all. It was an incredible experience, but something happened on that tour where there was a spirit of, or some kind of like blanket of anxiety that hit a lot of people at one time.
Wow.
Um, and every Sunday they host a tour church backstage for all the bands, and each band on the tour trades off leading worship every Sunday. It's super cool. So like one Sunday we're in there, We the Kingdom's leading worship, then the next Sunday Ann Wilson's going to lead worship, and the next week Disciples going to lead worship. And then our tour pastor Zane Black would give a message, and it was my favorite part of the tour was tour church.
Mm.
And I remember one of the first weeks we were on the tour. Maybe it was after week one. We were in the second weekend, and Russ from New Song um, got up, and he was like, "Guys," he's like, "I just want to." He's like, "I know this is weird and out of left field." He's like, "I just want to." By a show of hands, he's like, "Has anyone in here been experiencing unexplained anxiety?" And so many hands went up around the room, including mine, because I was like, we started the tour, and I was like, God, I feel funny, like I'm starting to feel off up here. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And then when I saw all the hands, I was like, oh, thank God. Like I'm really glad I'm not the only one. And Russ was like, that he's been on the road for a very long time and has never dealt with anxiety, and he was dealing with it all of
Wow.
a sudden out of nowhere. And so as the tour went on, I started noticing things just kept getting worse up here. And I started talking to some other people, and I actually had a friend in the audio world who had to leave the tour halfway through because his anxiety was so bad he couldn't hold his hands still. And I'm feeling myself like slowly slipping to that point. And it all came to a head um, the night we played my hometown arena in Greenville, South Carolina. It was like my bucket list show. My whole family was there. I'd been dreaming of playing this arena since I was a kid, and the show went great. It was, played hard, all this good stuff. And I was backstage afterwards, and all of a sudden I just felt this rush of heat come over my body. And then all of a sudden I could not stand up on
Mm.
my own. And so I never passed out, but I just went ahead and laid down because I was like, I don't know what's about to happen. And so I end up in the care of EMS, and they're like checking me. And like I said, I've always had struggles with like health anxiety. So like I'm in this moment where I'm like, Lord, please don't let anything like be seriously wrong. And, and thank God for these people who are there that can take care of me and, all this stuff. But I was like, I really wish I wasn't in this spot. And from that point on, I, the rest of the tour was a huge struggle for me. Like, I was having like to have guys help me off the kit because I was so dizzy after I was playing. Like, I was having trouble walking. I was having trouble even walking into catering and getting my own food. Like, all of a sudden, I was bombarded with like panic attacks, social anxiety, which I've never had issues with. I've always been like a person that is uh, very comfortable just walking into a setting, meeting new people, striking up a conversation, and just being there. I'm not afraid of any of that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I am around my tour family that I've been on the road with for months, and now all of a sudden I am terrified of all of them. I'm terrified of walking to get food, and I started having to have Josiah help me. Like, he would have to go make plates of food for me and bring it to the bus, because the minute I'd leave the bus, my body would just start shaking like uncontrollably. And so I make it through the end of the tour because I was just like, I'm not letting this take me out of playing.
Yeah.
Um, and so we go home for a couple weeks, and then we're back on the road in April, and we are playing, and I'm still having these feelings. And all the way up until now, like, we've been doing a West Coast run, and it has been a struggle every night. Like, I've had at least one panic attack on stage every single night while playing music that I've just had to like fight through, and just keep pushing forward. Sometimes it's two or three. And it's even happening when I'm home, like just simple tasks such as like trying to even walk into a grocery store. My body literally has just made me like start shutting down, and I get so like lopsided and dizzy that I can't even like walk into places. And you want to talk about embarrassing, defeated, like trying to keep my self confidence right now. It has been a huge, huge struggle. And I'm only sharing these details because I've read enough stories and talked to enough friends who have been through the same thing and have experienced all the same stuff. And so maybe you're out there and you're experiencing some of these same things, and you think you're like crazy or you're off because you are experiencing that. And I'm here to tell you, you're not at all. You're not alone in those feelings. And so, um, yeah, it's been a struggle. Like, even just agreeing to do, uh, interviews like this, it's actually like I feel anxious. I feel nervous. Things that I'm doing right now
Mhm.
to combat this, is one, I went back obviously to my doctor to make sure like physically everything's okay, because that's always a smart thing to do. And so for me, what's helping me right now is one, talking about it.
Yeah.
Suffering in silence is not great. I don't recommend it for anybody. So if you're out there and you're suffering through this, like, it wants to isolate you. Like, the enemy obviously wants to like get you by yourself and isolate you and make you feel so alone in this that it destroys you. But the more you talk about it and keep it at the forefront, and those that are around you that love you the most, communicating it to them, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm having a bad day. If you could pray for me, or if you could help me, or just let me talk, that would be great. So I'm doing that. I called a buddy of mine who went through panic attacks on the road, about 7 or 8 years ago. He's a singer in a very prominent metalcore band, and he gave me a lot of great resources. Helped me get into therapy.
Mhm.
And so this is my first time ever doing therapy. I've always heard that it's a great thing,
Yeah.
um, but I've never tried it. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to give it a shot. Anyone out there, if you think asking for help is a sign of weakness or that you're just giving up, it's not. It actually shows that you care enough about yourself that you are refusing to give up. So you are asking, hey, please help me. I need to like figure this out.
Mhm.
And so, um, my days have not gotten any easier. I even when I'm home in the most comfortable place that I know, I'm very apprehensive. I struggle to walk out of my front door right now. But I've just been learning how to let anxiety in, as weird as that sounds, by basically working on the system called the DARE system, which is diffuse, allow, run towards, and engage. And basically, when waves of anxiety hit me, I diffuse them by saying, like, oh, what am I worried about right now? Oh, I'm worried that this is going to make me pass out. Cool. Go ahead. I don't what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to get a power nap for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be back awake and somebody will take care of me. And then allowing it by saying like, "Hey, I allow and accept this anxious feeling to hit me, and come on in, do whatever you want to do." And then the run towards segment is basically like, "All right, I'm going to give you 21 seconds to do your worst. Like, you're making me feel like I'm going to pass out, or I'm going to lose it, or I'm going to, my heart's going to beat out of my chest. Can you give me more? Can you make my heart beat faster? Can you make me can you make the tightness in my throat just a little bit tighter?" It's almost like you're kind of calling anxiety's bluff.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, you count like that 21 seconds, and then nothing happens. It's just the same feeling, and it starts to dissipate a little bit. And then you're like, all right, cool, well, you had your chance to do your worst, so I'm going to move on with my day now. You're welcome to hang out with me, but I'm going to put you in the back seat and let it, instead of letting you ride shotgun.
Yeah.
Now this is way easier said than done. I can go ahead and tell you that. Being in an airport the other day, it was the roughest thing, because I'm having this problem with just being in public places right now, which is really unfortunate when you're a musician.
Yeah.
um,
Can imagine.
and so I'm in a constant state of feeling like I'm just losing my mind, but I have to keep reminding myself, it's like there's 1 in 5 people, and like when you walk around, count 5 people, one of those people has a actual diagnosable anxiety issue. That's
Mhm.
just the ones with diagnosis. There's probably more in that 5 who have it and just don't know it, or it hasn't been diagnosed, because we all carry an anxiety, just because that's just the way the human body's made as far as like nervous system goes. Um, but some people are just much better at managing it than others. And
Right.
right now, it's just hitting me in a new way that I've never experienced. So I'm having to drop back what worked for me in 2017, 2018. Some of that stuff works, but there's new things at play. So I'm having to drop back and kind of learn new ways of coping with it, dealing with it, and working towards healing it. And for me, I'm hopeful, because when I come out on the other side of this, because there will be another side to this, like there will be an end to it. Um, I will come out with new tools in my tool belt, that if it ever comes back, I have new weapons and new ways of knowing how to fight it off. I wish I had an ending to this story to where it's like, hey, this helped me, this blah blah blah, but I'm literally in the middle of it, um, trying the things that I need to try in order to unwind whatever's like whatever switch has been flipped.
I really appreciate you sharing. I think that being in the middle of it and sharing what you're going through will honestly help so many people not feel alone, because so many people are going through it. When you shared what you were going through, I was like, "Oh man," because um I've struggled with anxiety a lot, but my thing right now is like with all of the shootings that's been going on, that has kind of triggered something in me where if I'm out
Yeah,
alone and there's somebody else out there, no matter who it is,
yeah,
I have this extreme anxiety that I'm gonna
yeah,
get shot. Like, or if we're out in a public area and I'm with my daughter, I'm like, how can I protect her if something happens? And like,
yeah.
I've never experienced that before.
Right.
And it's just this world is, so much going on and it creates so much anxiety. And
Yeah,
even with the pandemic, so many people have gone through depression and anxiety.
yeah,
And I think being able to see somebody like you who is in the public eye, in the Christian world, and you're in this band that a lot of people look up to, but to see that you're struggling is going to help a lot of people to know they're not alone. We lose a lot of
yeah,
people because of their anxiety and depression,
yeah.
and they think that they're not enough and they can't make it through and that no one cares.
Mhm.
And that's so far from the truth. And so
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful that you shared. I know it's not easy, but know that it
Yeah,
will help so many people and has even helped me through it because
good.
I think letting people know like you need to talk about it. Like you said, staying quiet and not sharing is where we
Yeah,
lose people because it's always people who are like, I had no clue that they were struggling. I had no clue
yeah,
they were going through that.
yeah,
And you're not alone. I guarantee you out there watching, if you're struggling with it and you've not shared, you share it with one person, you're probably gonna be surprised at the fact that they're probably gonna say they've struggled too. Everybody goes through their own journey, you know, it may not be what you get anxiety about or what I get anxiety about, but we all have our own journey and we all struggle with something. So
Yeah.
definitely talk about it. That was one of my biggest things. I went through abuse as a kid and I carried that with
Oh,
me for so long. And I was in a church that, you know, like you said, was kind of cultish and you just kind of swept under everything under the rug and you smiled and you acted like your life was perfect. And I did that for so long
yeah.
that I kind of believed it,
Mhm.
um, but didn't realize how bad it was really affecting my life and the choices that I was making. So when you shared like that you were going through that shame of, you know, the choices that you made and the people you hurt, I went through that too
Yeah.
until I realized like I needed to get help and to admit that like it's okay to like get help from abuse. It's not your fault. Like you're not the
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
And so many people go through that too. So yeah, I just really thank you for sharing and being on today. And
Yeah.
um, I just hope all of you watching, you know, that you get something out of it and you listen. And if you're struggling, please just ask for help. Um, just because we're Christians does not mean that life is going to be perfect. And just because you are a Christian and you struggle doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're living in sin or whatever it is. You know, it's just real life, and God doesn't say that we're not going to struggle, but he does say that he'll be with us through it all. So um
Absolutely.
so thank you, Joey.
For sure. Can I leave everybody with a scripture that I just memorized? Like,
Yes.
it's been helping me and comforting me. Like I'm not saying like I say this out loud and then all of a sudden all my problems whisk away, but it
Yeah.
really does help. It's Psalm 3:3. It says, "You, O Lord, are a shield around me. You are my glory, the one that holds my head high." And that verse, like, just knowing that God is a protection around me and
Mhm.
that he is my strength and he's the one that's literally holding my head high through a storm. It's
Yeah.
very, very comforting. So uh go mark it down, Psalm 3:3, highlight it in your Bible app, highlight it in your actual Bible, write it down somewhere where you can see it. Because it's been comforting and helping me. So I figured I'd just throw that out there right here at the end.
Yeah.
Um for
I
for
appreciate
people.
that. Yes. Go write
So
it down, Psalm 3:3. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you all for watching. And until next time, carry on.